So you just had your newborn baby, or perhaps your baby is just days away and you plan to breastfeed. This video is for you. All things breastfeeding. I'm going to brain dump everything I know into this video about breastfeeding. I have 6 children and I've breastfed all of them. My 6th baby is 7 months old and he's been exclusively breastfed. My second to last baby, Sarah, I breastfed her until she was 18 months old. So I'm going to come around you today as a mama who's been there. How soon after giving birth should I breastfeed? Okay, this is the thing. As soon as they cut the cord, but have them bring that baby to you as soon as they can. Most hospitals do that. Skin to skin is great. And you know what? As soon as you can, try to get that baby to latch. Your milk will not have come in. You have some colostrum already. And the colostrum is going to be there for about, up to 5 days until your milk comes in. You want to get that baby latching as soon as possible. And like I said, the baby is not going to be getting milk, but he or she is going to be getting colostrum, which is just a superfood. As soon as you can, get that baby to breast and start practicing, latching, all that good stuff. Number 2, how do I get a good latch? Practice. Okay, your little newborn is going to be practicing and you also are going to be practicing. I like to say to new mothers, every 2 hours when they're newborn, wake them up during the night even, and then as, after they've reached their, regained their birth weight, because they will lose a little bit, then you can stretch it to 3 hours if you want to do that, and if you feel comfortable doing that with where the baby's at and stuff. But practice is what gets a good latch. And, position goes into it. You got to just get in there and you got to just do it. It's going to be messy in the beginning, but you know what? Just let the baby practice. Let the baby latch as often as possible. Number 3, how often should I feed my newborn baby? I think every 2 hours is a very great time frame, and a lot of medical professionals, which I am not, I am just your regular mom speaking into your life. I'm not going to give any medical information, so if I do give some advice, it's simply advice. They say generally every 2 to 3 hours, and I do actually tend to lean more towards that 2-hour mark. Every 2 hours, set the alarm on your phone so that you don't forget. But the baby will lose weight right after you've given birth a little bit, and so you want that baby to regain that birth weight. And also you want to encourage your milk to come in. Like I said earlier, your milk isn't going to come in. It will take up to 2 to 5 days for that to come in, but you know what? It is still good. You're practicing. Every time you latch, every time you get the baby to breastfeed, you are practicing together and you are encouraging that milk to come in. Also giving the baby that colostrum, which is just great. Number 4, how long should each feeding last? With a newborn, it really varies. Just go according to the baby. You can't make the baby feed longer than he or she wants to, so 5 minutes on one side is great. Switch to the other side, see if he or she'll take it. You really can't force the baby to do anything that the baby doesn't want to do. All you can do is be coming to the baby and waking the baby for those feedings. Yeah. And sometimes babies can be kind of sleepy. So, when you go to them to get them, for that 2-hour mark, sometimes you'll have to bug them. I mean, I've even undressed my baby and, you try to get the baby angry if the baby's sleeping, because the baby has to wake up to eat. Don't let the baby just sleep, because then that's not going to encourage your milk to come in, and that's not going to, get that baby's birth weight up either. Number 5, what are the signs that a baby is hungry? Munching on their fingers is a pretty common clue. Just fussiness in general. Cluster feeding, which babies do in the first couple of days of birth, they are more fussy. And even with cluster feeding, it can be, even after you've established a good latch, it's on again, off again, on again, off again. And a lot of times we can think, oh, there's something wrong, or maybe my baby forgot how to latch. What's up with this? Yesterday the baby was latching just great, could breastfeed for 5 minutes at a time, or 10 minutes at a time, whatever, somewhere in between. And today it's just all different. I think the baby forgot everything. It's all me. No, that's cluster feeding. Just power through it. I told my sister who's just had a baby, those first couple months, the first month to, it's a real fog. And then you look back and you're like, how did I even get through it? It's kind of like labor where you're like, when is this going to end? But somehow the baby you just come through it together. The baby learns, you learn, and it just irons itself out. It's just the most amazing thing. Number 6, how do I know if my baby is getting enough milk? Actually, it's kind of a faith thing. You don't really know what the baby is getting. Like even now, my baby is 7 months old, and when he nurses, I don't know how much he's getting. I'm just trusting that he's taking what he needs. And also with breastfed babies, they can utilize the breast milk so effectively that they're not always urinating and having those poopy diapers, as often as we think they should, but really they're able to use all the nutrition out of that breast milk. Breast milk is such a powerhouse superfood for them. So, as long as the baby is feeding, just keep on with that and you just trust the process. Eventually you're going to want to see those wet diapers, but for a little newborn, wet diapers aren't going to be like a 7-month-old wet diaper. You got to just trust the process and trust that it's working. Number 7, how can I increase my milk supply? Honestly, it is a supply and demand issue. The more you nurse, the more you're going to build that milk supply. Those cluster feedings, which actually they can tend to happen at night, which is great, right? For us, we're so tired as it is. But it is a supply and demand issue. So you want to build your milk supply, do that. Nurse. Just have nothing else on your agenda and just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna nurse today. Like the baby's maybe a little fussy, maybe she's cluster feeding, you're just gonna nurse. When I first had my first baby, which I was able to nurse him for about a month or so, but I had no clue what I was doing. I was like trying everything. I was pumping, I was like, drinking more water, trying to drink more water, which you should drink water. I mean, that's good. But those are the things that don't necessarily go into milk supply. It is nursing. The baby can tell your breast a lot better than a pump can. Hey, we need to ramp up production here, like the saliva, even the lips just on the nipple, and then the baby, is kind of massaging as she's sucking, or he, and the baby just does such a good job with those cues of telling the body. So you want to build your milk supply. Feed the baby. There's nothing like the baby feeding for building your milk supply. Number 8, can I overfeed my baby? I think that you could, but I don't think it's going to hurt anything. The baby will just herb up if she needs to, like if she took a little bit more than she needed. I keep saying she, but my last baby is a boy, but whatever. I have boys and girls. I have 3 of each. But the thing is, too, is one thing that I noticed with my babies is that, sometimes when they were cluster feeding, they would actually overeat a little bit, like they were growing it, so they would tend to overeat, and then maybe they would herb up a little bit. If you want a tip for herping up and, also diaper rash and sleeping through the night and stuff, comment below. Maybe comment, tell me the secret or something, and I will let you know, like my number 1 secret for those 3 things. A content baby, no diaper rash, no herping up. That's a big one. My first baby, he did a lot of herping up, and you think it's you, and I mean, now I'm a pro, I can do this, but when you're a new mom, you don't know what's going on. But what was the initial question? Can my baby overeat or something like that? Was that the question? And I don't know that a newborn would overeat. Their tummies are so tiny. They're going to take what they need, and a lot of times they'll fall asleep. We got to try to work at keeping them awake and stuff like that. But a lot of times in newborns we can be like, oh, the baby's starving, and yes, the birth weight is like important, and getting that weight back, and then all of that, we're concerned about wet diapers and things like this. But the baby's stomach, is so unbelievably tiny that, like, he or she does not need as much as we think they need. Like they just need like drops would actually do. You know what I mean? As we're waiting for that milk to come in. I know with my sister's newborn, I think she's a week old today actually, just super fussy. And Rebecca's like, I think she's starving. And when I went over to visit her, I actually nursed her. But her milk has come in. But as new mothers, we can get so worried, like they're starving and da da da, and it's like their tummies are so small. I think if there's a lot of fussiness, it's more of like a cluster feeding issue. Okay, next question. Is it normal for breastfeeding to hurt? I'm a little confused by this question. Like, does it actually hurt when you're breastfeeding, or is the baby sucking on a weird part of your nipple? Is that what's causing it to hurt? But the actual breastfeeding part, no, that shouldn't hurt. But if the baby's not on your nipple, right, that can be painful, right? Like if she's sucking like on like a different part of your boob that she's not meant to, like the nipple is where it's at. And again, practice is going to go into that, getting those good positions. I always held my babies like the traditional way. I wasn't really into all the other ways to breastfeed. So I'm not really the best one to ask about positions. But yeah, that was a little bunny trail. Moving on to the next question. What causes sore or cracked nipples? Basically, the baby always being on the nipple, right? And your nipples, they don't have stamina yet. Like mine are pretty beefed up, and they're not cracking or sore or anything like that. But in the beginning with each baby, your nipples can just be kind of tender, and all that nursing, all that sucking on there, it can kind of hurt. And so you can take that lanolin cream that can help with those cracked nipples. What can I do about engorgement? This is question number, I don't know what question I'm up to. We'll just forget about the number. What can I do about engorgement? If you were engorged, what I would do is I would pump. A lot of times, after our milk has come in and the baby's really established that milk coming in, when he or she is little, they will nurse only on one side. 1 second. Well, you told me you guys were making supper. How's Simon? Okay, sounds good. Thank you. What was the question? What can I do about engorgement? Oh yes, a lot of times, those little babies, they only nurse on one side, and not all the time. I mean, definitely alternate. Having a ponytail is a good tip for you. Like, I nursed here last time, so I'm going to put it here to remind me that I left off on this side so that I know to start here. You know what I mean? But like if you're engorged because the baby didn't nurse on both sides, pump, and then you can, keep them from being lopsided, yes, but like engorgement does feel uncomfortable. You can build up a little bit of that milk supply. I stayed home with all my babies. I stay home. I haven't worked in 11 years, 12 years. And, but I still would pump sometimes. It's nice to have a little supply in there for like if you're gone shopping or whatever. But if you're ever engorged, you can pump. Like if the baby doesn't want that, definitely pump. And then, I would actually, the next time I would breastfeed, I would actually, if I were you and you're in this situation, I would actually start on the side that I pumped. Even though you pumped it, the baby can do a lot better job at getting the milk out than the pump can. And so even though you pumped this side, start her on this side, or him, just because, she's so good at getting that milk out, or he. Yeah, do not rely too heavily on the pump because the baby is so much better than the pump. Next question. How do I prevent or treat mastitis? I'm not too familiar with this because I didn't ever really get this. I think I might have experienced this one time and then I was able to power through it. But basically, I think you need to nurse. You really need to, like, I don't know. actually, I might cut this out because I'm not too much of an expert on mastitis. I know that's when your milk has dried up. So like if you don't nurse, you can get that. I don't know. I may or may not cut this out. I'm not the best expert at that. Sarah, can you close the door? Okay. Next question. Do I need to eat a special diet while breastfeeding? No, you don't need to eat a special diet, but I would avoid spicy food with your newborn, like tomatoes, anything like super acidic, like if something, hi, upsets you, it could upset the baby. But you want the baby to like have a well-rounded diet. Um, I'm at the point now with Simon, he's 7 months old, that I can basically eat anything and it won't do nothing. I can even have like a bowl of bean soup and that won't do nothing for him, like in terms of giving him like a tummy ache. Sometimes babies can get a little like fussy when they have like beans or like broccoli, a lot of those like high fiber things. And so just be careful with those things. Of course, you can research those too, but the big ones are, tomatoes. That was a big one for me. Like spicy stuff, like I would avoid like anything with cumin in it or anything like super spicy. That's just me. Maybe there's other advice out there. Next question. Is it safe to exercise while breastfeeding? Yeah, I would say it's safe. Again, this is all my just mama knowledge. Like I'm not an expert at this or whatever, or maybe you would call me an expert. Um, the thing is your breasts will be kind of big, so like it's gonna probably hurt doing all that jumping around. But actually, just on the note of exercising, this is something that I myself did with Simon. I think I might have like hurt myself. This is the deal. I guess your body continues to make the hormone relaxin even after you're done having the baby because it helps with like breastfeeding and stuff. 1 second. Yeah. This is Sarah, my 3-year-old. She was exclusively breastfed. Let's say hi. Okay. All right. Mommy's doing a video. Okay. Hey, come on. Go play now. What was I saying? Oh yes, your body continues to make that relaxin, and that was what helped your joints get all loosey goosey for delivery, right? But I guess your body does continue to make that because my knees were so sore and my ankles, and then I found a Reddit thread and that's super common in women who can, who breastfeed and just continue to breastfeed and all this. Like I guess your body, like it's pretty common to get to continue to feel kind of, loosey goosey. But the thing is with exercises, if we overdo it, we can actually like injure our joints and stuff because we're like more prone to injury because we have that hormone in our body. So just keep that in mind when it comes to exercise while you're breastfeeding, is that you are going to be more loose, your joints and stuff like that. But yeah, it's safe to go on a light walk while you're breastfeeding. Like it's even safe to like lift some weights, like low key or something like that while you're breastfeeding. That's completely fine as far as I know. Next question. Do I need to drink more water to make enough milk? This is something that I believed with my first baby who's just turned 11. I thought, oh, well, and I think my milk just wasn't in yet. Or also maybe my milk had come in, but he just didn't need all that much. And so I'm freaking out because I'm like, I don't have enough milk, but really your body is just going to make what your baby needs. And so here I am freaking out. Um, I don't have enough milk. I don't have enough milk, but probably I had enough for him. And he was probably fussy because he was cluster feeding and he was trying to like grow my milk supply. But here I'm freaking out thinking he's not eating, and so I did kind of buy into that myth that like, oh, water is going to boost my milk supply. The only thing that's really going to boost your milk supply is doing it, breastfeeding. The only food that I really know is good for milk production is oatmeal. There may be some other foods out there, but that one is like a really robust food for building milk supply. I do know that when I have like cut calories while I was breastfeeding, I did see my milk supply go down, and it was kind of alarming. And so don't put yourself on like a low cutting calories diet. Like I wasn't doing it on purpose, but I was just, trying to get back to like, trying to get in shape, you know. Not that I'm sitting here eating chips or whatever, but like I had that scare, and then so I like had a couple days where I just ate nothing but oatmeal, and just like you want those good carbs and you know, yeah. But milk, or excuse me, water, I don't think there's anything magical about water. We should be drinking water anyway, you know, it's good for hydration and stuff like that. But I don't think that it really will make you produce more milk. It breastfeeding your baby, it's a supply and demand issue. You want more milk, you need to do it more. Next question, when should I start pumping? Well, if you are engorged, of course, pump. Now, I never went back to work. Like I didn't need to like build up that milk supply. So if you're in that position, I mean, you can comment below and I can certainly like give my 2 cents on that. But pumping, I mean, if you're just staying home and you're exclusively breastfeeding or whatever, I would just do it when I was engorged. Or if like you're out and about shopping, like for example, my baby is eating solid foods now. He was able to handle it at 5 months, and so we were, you know, we've been blending up some food for him, and so he's able to go longer stretches without breastfeeding, right? And so like if I'm out shopping, I will pump, you know, like if I know he's eaten, just to kind of, you know, your body is going to make more once you get that out. And so like, well, I don't want to get engorged and I want to have milk later, so I better pump now. Basically, I would pump if engorged. Yeah, that's my answer to that question. How do I store breast milk properly? You can store it up to, I believe, I don't have it right in front of me. They make those magnets. You can store it up to a couple hours room temperature. You can look all this up online, or I can find it for you and put it here too. In the fridge for up to a couple days, and then after that you can stick it into the freezer, like a deep freezer, and in like those Lanzano bags, for up to like 6 months, I believe. I will you know, put that information right here, but it's easily accessible online, and I know Milk Moms, and you know, there's magnets for all of those things too. How can I build a freezer stash before going back to work? We kind of talked about that. Like, it's a supply and demand issue. I think you could really build your milk supply if you're constantly on the pump. Basically, they call it power pumping. Like, you get yourself on a schedule where you kind of mimic cluster feeding. But again, nothing's as good as the baby. But I never had to go to work. But that's probably how you would do that. You would just use the pump in between and mimic those cluster feedings and get more milk that way. I believe that was around 25 questions. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know where you are in your journey. Did you just have your newborn? Are you days away from having your newborn and you're just getting some research done so that you have a little bit of a handle on this? If you need a mama to come alongside you who's been there, I would just love to come alongside you. Leave me a comment down below. Ask me any questions that you would like. I can come around you in any way, answer pretty much everything for you. I've struggled with breastfeeding, I've succeeded with breastfeeding, and everything in between. If you've got 1 or 2 things out of this video, consider liking and subscribing so we can get this pushed out to more new mamas who are breastfeeding. And until next time, bye for now.